Welcome to my Plan With Me video for November 2023. I encourage you to grab a beverage of your choice. It happens to be tea. And I will walk you through the method that I use to plan my months and balance between being a wife, a mother of two boys, um, living on a farm, and also working a full-time job and running a coaching business for tech and marketing. A full plate, but I manage it because of my planning systems. So let's go ahead and dive into monthly planning. So what you're going to see me use here is actually again, I'm a digital planner, so you can do the same method with analog, pencil, paper. I used a bullet journal. This strategy works for whatever system you're using. It's find what works best for you, and that's what you're going to use. Right now, this is what has worked best for me. So this is what I'm using. I'm using an iPad Pro, 12-inch with Good Notes, and I can't remember if it's Good Notes 5 or 6. It's whichever the newest one is as of this recording. And the planner system that you're going to see on my iPad is the Passion Planner weekly, as well as I do have the Passion Planner daily, and that's also where I get a lot of my digital stickers from. Full transparency. Yes, I'm an ambassador. Yes, I will link below where you can get a discount on a purchase from them. I like the digital because I can reuse it. The stickers are really good. You're going to see that kind of in full force here. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about my monthly planning. So on my monitor over here that you may or may not be able to see, I do have the camera behind me to kind of give you some of that. I've got a side-by-side up of my work calendar as well as my personal calendar. Yes, I've got automation that syncs between it, but it's not always reliable because Microsoft does not like to share things with Google. And I like to have, fail safes just in case something does break down, not often. But the goal of this is not to get, here's my detailed list. It's what holistically does this month look like as far as time commitments and all that. So to kind of get in here on that, let's start with, I know I have got a vacation I'm taking, so we're going to mark that off. Get the big important things in there first. Oh, no, hang on. I'm going to sync with that. So it's been a little weird. Sorry, I am being picky. But that's the nice thing about the digital planner stuff is I can erase it and redo it. I'll even be able to move it as well. That something that's a little bit out of the ordinary and important that I don't want to miss is I know my son's got a tournament. I also have a conference, actually a couple of conferences. This next week is going to be crazy. And then I've got one that is more related to my business, which is why it's getting a different color. Simply because that's the color that I use that represents my business. All right. So those are some of the big anomalies I know of. And so I'm moving on now to personal, like what is personally going on this month? Well, luckily, we'll start with personal rhythms. You can start with the rhythms, or you can also know, like, hey, it's Thanksgiving. It's November. It's going to happen. I'm in the United States. If you've got whatever monthly holidays you've got, those are usually the things that like are set. So let me go grab, let me go grab a turkey. Pop it in there. And then I'm add in, I'm gonna add in, I don't do this for everything, but for this one, I am gonna add in a little descriptor. So that way I know, because, you know, for us, we have multiple Thanksgiving things that occur. So this tells me which one it is whenever I look at it. So that's coming up. Now I'm going to go shift back over to our weekly, our regular rhythms. So things like sports practices, again, because I'm a mom and I'm the one that usually takes my son to his practices, that is something I want to make sure that's on my calendar, as well as we do have Google calendars that are shared, and my son's not old enough yet to kind of manage his own, but I'm going to be introducing that soon to him, so that way we're all operating off of a calendar. If he has an appointment, I'm instilling these skills in him now, because the reality is planning is actually a skill you can build. The reason why I can do this without necessarily looking at a lot of different systems or subsystems or things like that that I might need to otherwise is because this is the sorry, I've been talking so now. Because this is a skill that I built up over years and years and years, mainly because I, I have ADHD, I have autism. So I'm not naturally a planner. It is very against my nature, but because it's a skill that I see the importance of cultivating, my life's a lot calmer when I am in my planning rhythms and routines. So it is a way that I compensate for the fact that my executive function does not. Uh, and so for some of these, you'll see me put in just, again, just a little bit of detail that's very, very crucial at a high level. Okay. So, and I kind of do this like, okay, Monday, what routinely happens on Monday? Tuesday, what routinely happens on Tuesdays? Um, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, we typically have a D game. So, and you'll see me use these different stickers, or you saw me pull it from this part up here, which is the elements. That's simply because you can save some of these settings into your GoodNotes, which is another reason I like this app if you're doing digital planning. Um, because I haven't done it for this season yet, because I've had a lot of routines and things change lately with schedules. So what I would want to do is, once I get this kind of set, I can select just, you know, what a regular month would look like, as far as like these things happen Monday, these things happen on Friday, etc. And then I can save that as an element here, and then it makes it that much faster to plan each month. But I have not taken the time to do that. I need a marker for our Pathfinder game. And when the nice thing about routines or rhythms, whatever you want to call them, is I've already kind of pre-decided that these are the things that we do each week, and some things are kind of decided for us, like when and where his sports practices are. Um, but we have friends and we made that commitment that every Friday they come over and play, and then every Saturday we have a virtual game. So that way we get to see our friends regularly. Especially this one is a bunch of friends that are not located even remotely close to where we are. And so those are the things that are important to us. And so that those are just kind of, for the most part, non-negotiable and just kind of assumed to be happening, unless determined otherwise for things. So make sure I get all these on there. And if you're setting up something similar, you can, some people like to write it all out. Some people like to use shorthand. I like using, some of the stickers and different things to highlight what's going on, just because like this one, our church sticker encompasses not just going, but also serving, so that I don't have to note that every time, because that's just something that we do. So we've got this one. I'll use it with, and again, I love that I can resize these because it makes it so much easier to just reuse and do it. Oh wait, just kidding. It's this week and this week. And again, that is why digital planning is a lot more forgiving. So if you're somebody like me that's like, yeah, I want the pretty planner, but I don't want the stress of having to do it. I do a lot more planning in this than I ever did with physical planners and things like that, outside of the power sheets, because that's, to me, the more high level strategic side of things. Um, and this is something that, in trying to kind of streamline what I do, because I operate out of this most of the time in the month, I don't always fill out the other. Plus, the power sheets is also more of like the habit tracking, which isn't encompassed in this planner. Uh, so that's how you can start to see how the different systems fit into one another. All right, and actually, don't like having that line there, so I'm going to redraw it. Okay, so yep, those are all. Oh, nope, that's not all the personal systems. Grab this because we have one that is another rhythm we have is we regularly go see the parents, but it's also like an every other week type rhythm. But the reason I'm not doing both is because obviously I will be seeing them on Thanksgiving. Okay. All right, so I think I've got everything there. Um, Now for the work rhythms. So now that I've got kind of what is personally happening that month or this month, I have that down. So let's grab, start doing work rhythms now. So for some of these, what I've done is I have grabbed logos off of like Google image search, that have a transparent background so you can see that it doesn't have like a white block behind it. And you can absolutely do that because again, this is all for personal use. I'm not like using their not using it necessarily for anything else. But this is just so that way I know what is going on. And then once I get the rhythms in the right week, we can that. And then because I'm actually doing a lot with them this month because there's another meeting that I know of. And then they are actually the ones that are putting on this conference that is happening, Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So I've got that. And actually, bottom. So that way it's there. Okay. So the next, so again, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, going all the way through. Okay. And the reason I'll show you why I'm actually pasting in the middle there instead of just going, hey, this is where I want it. No, that time it actually did it. We'll just go there. But a lot of times whenever you, okay, oh, it's because I had that selected. That's why. So tip, you can select that and then it'll bring up that menu. But if you just do it straight like that, it's going to take me directly into, we'll do this one so that we can, takes me directly into the week that's there. So since I'm not going, oops. Since that's not what I want, we'll just go back to monthly. That. Okay. Like I said, I've had a lot of new things. So, there's a call that happens for one of the trainings I'm part of. And this way I can always get it in there. And I actually just realized I forgot probably my most important personal rhythm, but I'll just add it here in just a second. So important rhythm that I forgot is I've got my monthly planning that I do. And then back through for this. Oh, there it was. Put that. So the reason I've got two different planning icons is because I like to do my monthly planning. I'm a bit behind this one. I like to do my monthly planning, which is the strategic level, the Monday before the start of the month, because that gives me a couple days to get it done usually, and it lets me start the month just kind of start the month running. So I will actually two results of my circling. So I will actually move that since I'm doing that there. So that way I can also kind of track of like what actually happened. And then each week, because what I'll do is when I do my monthly planning, I plan the month and then I plan that first week of the month. Or whatever, like the first full week of the month is how that works. So that way it takes a little bit longer than doing the weekly, but then I'm able to put, do my weekly adjustments because Monthly planning is your strategic level planning for, what you set forth in your quarterly or your annual plan. And the weekly is is where you determine like what tactics you want to achieve your monthly goals. And then the daily piece is the execution, because you have to have those three pieces to achieve your goals. So not skipping because it is a vacation week. I still want to maintain that. And again, these are setting intentions. And the goal is to kind of maintain on that. So let's see. All right, so planning rhythms are in there. I think I've got all the work rhythms. At least the work rhythms I know I need to be in. All right, so next step after kind of like, what are the big things you're aware of this month? What are your regular things that you have going on during different days of the week, the month, etc. And then the third thing is where I go week by week to make sure that there's not anything that I missed, or any things I should definitely be aware of. So things like doctor's appointments, major meetings, which I just realized I forgot, because I do have a weekly meeting that happens every other week for work, which, excuse me, I'm sorry. I have a bi-weekly meeting that happens every other week for work. And so, because I know that that's happening, what that lets you do is, by being a proactive planner like this, I was able to coordinate with the other people that are in the meeting before all of our schedules got busy, and where this should actually be on, the week I'm going to be on vacation, I'm able, we already know that we were able to move it there, and then we're going to kind of like resume that. So we're not missing a meeting or trying to squeeze it into an already packed schedule. So that is important. Okay. One thing I do want to note, since I have one of the family Thanksgivings, but not the other one, I need to that way I know I need to go check and find out with my in-laws when that's happening. All right. And that's something that I can take on this week, so that way, even if they don't know yet, I've already planted that seed, so I know I'm not the bottleneck on that one. All right, so rhythms planned out. Let's go week by week, checking this week, see if there's anything major. No major changes, or things of significance. And again, I've got my calendars side by side on my monitor over here that I'm pulling up, because I've built the habit of, if something's scheduled, it goes on my calendar. It is as you can see, I'm getting invites. So I'll be able to know like if I'm able to do that or not. All right. So as I'm going week by week, what I'm looking for are any either major deviations. So if I hadn't already been aware that I've got the conference there, that's where I would pick back up. Because a lot of times what I do is I will add a conference during the dates, and I usually know, when it's announced, if it's virtual, if I'll go or whatever. I try to add that in advance to my actual calendars, and then evaluate, is this still something I want to do, or it's still worth my time to go when that comes around. So Again, don't treat your calendar as completely rigid. It can be flexible. It's meant to provide you information with how your time is going, and how much space you've got. The goal is not to have everything completely stacked up. All right, so that, oh, something I did miss. And again, the reason I do this is I've got a training with WP Engine on the 9th, and then no other major deviations that aren't like schedule-y type stuff. And again, we're not looking for exact times, though if you want to put them in your calendar, that's totally up to you. It's your calendar. It's meant to serve you and how you want it to run. The strength and the key takeaway here is set your intentions for the month. You can follow my method, you can follow whatever method you're comfortable with, incorporate pieces, whatever. The key is doing it for the month, so that way you have kind of a game plan, even if it's a loose game plan. Nothing major, no major changes. Oh, yeah, so no major changes there. I won't actually be addressing. Okay. So that's the week of my vacation, which that looks right. And then now I'm in my last week in November, and so there's nothing major that is different or that I should be aware of. So the next step, once you've gotten to this point where you have, now I've got a very high level view. Oh, something I also, it's also a good idea to like check your health systems if you've got like a health app. And when I say health app, I mean like if the doctor or dentist or whoever that you use or see has an app, check it, because I just remembered that we do actually have some doctor's appointments coming up. And I'll go look those up. Oh. And so what I'll do then is, like, last month we had dentist. This month we've got this. And so what I will do is note that there's a doctor's appointment there, and so that way I also know whose it is. Because when you've got a family, you can have. And so I just put that, so that way we know, which kid to take to the doctor. And then I also have I noticed that I had one that is actually coming up on the 1st. Granted, it's not this month, but it's close enough that I want to at least be aware of it. So even if for some reason I don't wind up doing my monthly planning until late in the week again, I know that that's there and I'm not surprised. Though most offices and systems have a, hey, you've got an appointment coming up with us. And so that's something else that you can do. One other thing that I like to do is note when, because I have a prescription that has to be like renewed each month, is to use this, use an icon like this to where it's like, okay, where, when we can go pick that up, which will probably actually be tomorrow. And so, because it's based on when we pick it up, not whenever we do that. So that way I know when to call and get it renewed again, for the following month. Okay, so high level view of the month. is the goal here. The next step, once we kind of have that lay of the land, is going to be focusing in on this section. And I'm actually going to show you one other feature that I love because I can modify my planner because it's digital. And it's a lot easier because then I can make it very tailored to what I need. So that's another reason why I like digital planning. Label. And then new. And then what I'll do, because I use my monthly planning to set kind of the high level professional and business things that I need to do rather than personal, which I mean, there may be some months where I do use it for personal if we've got something big or something coming up. And so what I can do at that point, oh, this. Okay, so this one did not get. Now I wound up, I think, with two of them. There we go. Okay. I've got this. I can center it. And boom. Looks like it's custom made to me. Love that. All right. So focusing on work first. I know that my biggest project is getting, you know, site structure stuff in place so we can actually measure things more effectively than we already are. But because I know this project is, I'm waiting on some other teams for this, I will still go ahead and put it on there and break it down just because it does need to be on the forefront because I need to be able to and prepared to kind of switch over to it as soon as I'm unblocked on it. But I also don't want to be sitting there idly either. So I've got keyword research for our oops. Uh, so we have our 2024 content strategy, and now I'm just doing kind of like the month by month themes, topics, etc. keyword research for that. So I'm just going to break that down because, you know, I've got essentially 4 full ish weeks, or 4 full weeks of work that I'm actually going to be there. Well, so 1, 2, yeah. And so I want to make sure that I have enough to do as well as break down also this one. So I need so what I've done is I've taken what I know needs to be done, and these are the things that I need. And if I'm waiting on a team to do them, this signals to me that I need to go make sure that in whatever systems they use, I have at least a work order or ticket with them that I can then follow up on and check on to make sure it is actually part of their workload. So even if something is dependent on somebody else, still go ahead and write it or at least think through it. You can also use this section over here where you've got the breakdown of it as a scratch pad, because I've done that before and just like erased it and whatever. Because I just kind of use that for a little different monthly notes. So shifting to business, since I have active clients, active membership, I want to make sure that I'm focused on whatever deliverables and things that I've got for that. And one of the projects that's going to really move that forward in a positive way for my clients' experience is setting up my Searchy account, which is essentially the system that I've chosen to house all my content, because you're going to be able to like search for it. I can put coaching calls and things like that. So setting that up so that way I can migrate my current clients into that ecosystem is my goal. So we'll do. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of breaking it down into, they can be kind of like the bigger level pieces of it, because these might have different subtasks as, as, associated with them, or I might not necessarily know enough to know what all entails until I get in there. That's what your weekly planning is for. This is just really, again, high level initial thoughts even. So that way I've got these. And I don't really actually use the due dates. I kind of use these and use like either use them as check boxes. So, so one thing that I could do is take this. No, I actually don't have a white one, so let me add a white one and just, mark that out to hide it. Don't look at it. And normally, again, my planning sessions do not take this long. I'm explaining, I'm showing you, and kind of letting you know some of the thought process behind it. So the other thing is I have like a deliverable, or it's a training, since I am a tech and marketing coach. So, whoops, don't you need the one that's not there or that big? And I actually don't know if I'm going to be doing this topic or another one, but I know I want to do this and will need to do this. So this is why it's the one that's getting written down. So I have kind of a loose outline for a course, or the weird thing about Google Analytics, because it does take time, would be like a 4-week challenge, because you activate it and you have to wait for it to populate data so you know what you've got to work with. So that gives me a high level view of the project. So high level view of the month, high level view of the projects. And now the final couple of things. And again, sometimes I'll change these up depending, but one thing I'm trying to do is make the most out of what learning resources and things that I have, like through work, or that I have maybe invested in the past but haven't actually consumed. So I've got so I'm just kind of noting these so that way I remember that I've got these resources. Or if it's something that I know I should have access to but don't, I can follow up on those as well. Again, use these to kind of prompt anything that isn't caught within the high level view of the monthly or the projects. And then something I'm waiting on. Make that a little bit more future me friendly. And that's something too, whenever you're taking notes or leaving something, like pretend you're just looking at it, no context. You don't know everything that you know in this moment. And so you want to write it that way. So I'm actually waiting on because we have a location that's opening near me, and it's like we're waiting on that to open. And so that's going to trigger me going into and introducing a new routine at some point in this month, but I don't know when that will be, but it's something that I want to capture and make sure I'm aware of here. I don't really know when I want to use the people to see. I could change it to something else. So for right now, I'm just going to leave it blank. And so you can do personal. So once I've done all of this, I kind of hone in on what the month's focus in. And I do leave the personal here because I think it's important to like not lose sight of that. And as well as the work. So that is how I do my monthly planning. And just so you know where it kind of fits into my overall planning system and structure is, I have the annual planning, which I'll be doing in December for my business. I've already kind of doing a little bit of a jump start on it on the personal side in November. And if you're already kind of thinking ahead to 2024, I recommend setting up just like a Word doc, like a Google Doc, or I've got a note in Notion that I've kind of divided up into like, personal, work, and business. And so as I've thought of things, just generally, I just go in there, I kind of have treated it like a brain dump for anything that I might want to pursue or do in 2024 or beyond. So that way, whenever I sit down to do it, I've already kind of been pre-doing some of that work. So it makes it go a lot faster. Because we all have those ideas that kind of come to us randomly. Um, but you've got your annual planning, and then you've got your quarterly planning, which is still that high level strategic, but it's on that smaller scale. And you redo that like every 90 days, which is what lets you be adaptable, because life's going to throw you curveballs. It's how you can be proactive, and planning is how you become proactive. And if planning's too big a word, like you're just setting your intentions. Like, this is what I intend, this is what I want, so you can use that as that navigational point to move forward towards those goals. So annual/quarterly. Monthly is this month, like what is my strategic thing I'm doing, and how am I strategically moving towards the goals. that I set at a quarter? Do I maybe need to adjust some of that was set, you know, at a quarter, and depending, because you're able to adjust as well. And then the weekly, which I'll be doing a separate video on, is the tactical piece of how you're going to achieve your monthly goals. And then below that is the daily piece, which is your execution and how you're moving forward with that. But you really want to do the start at the monthly, and it's kind of a good thing to just do. If you're newer to planning, you know, you can start at the weekly level and work your way up, or you can start even just at a monthly level, or do a very rough, like, what do I want to achieve in the next 3 months? Bam, pick one goal. Because one of the things that I had is, you notice that I had, you know, primary goal or focus for work, primary goal or focus for my business, and then I had a secondary so I could kind of move them up in there. I don't do it as often as I should, probably for personal, so that's an area that I can improve on. But you don't want to overburden yourself with goals. But the idea is to have enough there that you can kind of shuffle things around as you're able to focus on them, but you're only working within a small subset of things. And then as one gets completed, you kind of bring something else into it. Or at the month, that's where you can decide of like, okay, that's going to go on the back burner or on the shelf right now. I need this one to move up front. Because sometimes things have timeliness to that. Either way, I hope you enjoyed seeing a bit of behind the scenes of how I prepare for the month. And if you if this is helpful, I'd love to hear more about how you do monthly planning. If you've ever done it, like what systems you like to use or how you approach it. If you've never done it before, hopefully, you know, did this take away some of the overwhelm of it? But either way, please, you know, like and subscribe to this video if you found it useful, share it with your friends. And as always, you have a great day, and I look forward to seeing what you guys create with your plans and hearing from you.